Hey, what's up, Stash here?
And this is Waffles, and welcome to Stash and Waffles. This is our second episode, and we just want to say, first of all, thank you to everyone who watched the first episode, and we're really looking forward to, engaging with you guys for this episode and the episodes in the future. So, episode 2, our main topic for today, we're looking at AI in music. For those of you who don't know what AI is, AI stands for Artificial Intelligence, and it's basically the end of the world. Well, maybe not so, but we're going to be, discussing its role, where it plays in music, and essentially give you guys hopefully some information and where to stand on it. It's an interesting time period that we find ourselves in, AI, the next great tool. Everybody's talking about AI this, AI that. So for those of you who don't know, Sashi is a musician. He's very heavily involved in the music industry. And I think looking at today's topic, it's very it's a good opportunity for us to actually look into like somebody who's aspiring in the music industry and how they feel about all the different things that come with AI, especially in the music industry. So without further ado, Sash, like just general feels. We've been doing some reading before this episode. What are your general feels about AI? Like, what's your general feeling? Are you afraid or are you excited?
Yeah, no doubt. Like, just when the launch of the AI craze came through in the music scene, I think everybody was a little bit frantic. Everybody needed to calm down a little bit, to not knowing, because the main fear, obviously, is the copyright. The copyright infringements and the copyright sort of legislation. And so, amongst many other things, the fact that AI can write songs, the fact that AI will probably is already imitating artists almost identical. And the tracks sound good.
Almost like you can't even tell that it's not the guy themselves. Yeah.
And yesterday, on like a big radio station, one of South Africa's main radio stations. Ricky Rick and the DJ said that this is an AI song and whatever. And it was a Ricky Rick song. It was fire.
It was crazy. For those of you who don't know, Ricky Rick is an artist who's passed away, by the way.
Yeah. So, but like with everything, once you get knowledge, you get the power. And the way I feel currently, after us going and looking at resources and reading a little bit and doing some research and watching videos, with regards to the music industry or any professional industry, it's just like when Napster came through, or when
Spotify, even at some point.
Cassettes to CDs to DVDs.
The shovel.
Yeah, exactly. So because of this rapid innovation, we're unsure of how we're going to be able to use it.
At this point,
but I think we're resilient enough to figure out how to use it to our benefit. And I'm just praying and hoping that we can continue to sort of have like a moral consensus, around the whole thing, which I know it's a big sort of like expectation on everybody. So that's where we are now. It's still very daunting. The content out there, it obviously leaves you uncertain, and we all fear uncertainty of and there's enough like sci-fi movies to leave you tripping.
That have warned us about this. I'll be back, and he is back. He's here. But you said something funny there to me the other day about how, so we in South Africa, and we experienced some heavy load shedding, power outages. So the question is, do we even have to worry about AI? Will it be able to survive on our power grids? But, with AI, as you said, it's just the next innovation, the next rapid innovation, which us as human beings, we've overcome. And, you think about the shovel and the tractor, at some point there were grave diggers. And when the tractor came about, they were like, oh, dude, our jobs are gone. But it just meant that now there's a tractor engineer job. There's now the tractor assembler job. There's now somebody to drive the tractor. So it's like there's new possibilities within this new place that we find ourselves in. So for myself, especially from a developer point of view, you know, somebody who's involved in the code, it's exciting. It's an exciting time. You know, we're seeing computers do things that when many people never thought were possible, right? And that brings me to the next question, which we have discussed before, but I just want to put it in for the people here to hear. Do you think that AI will be at some point creative? Do you think AI is creative, even right now where it is? Have you had a chance to play with AI, first of all? To play with different tools?
Last night actually.
Yeah.
Last night was the first time. I was sort of wanted to remain purist as far as I could. It's the same I did with TikTok. And it's like I was very slow with TikTok. And but it's just like unavoidable. You need to understand the resources that are out there before you decide how you're going to restrict yourself. And just like anything out there, we need to find balance, you know, and so it can become a resource, it become a marketing tool, or it can become like a distraction, you know, for us. So so that's why I was slow with TikTok, because I was like, I don't want another thing, like it's just like another thing now, you know, and the fear of distraction, you know, and becoming so addicted or caught up. And so back to our previous podcast, how important discipline is and understanding how to remain in control, you know. Anyway, so I did play around with AI. I use ChatGPT. Yeah.
That's like, we're going to link all of these systems that we talk about in the description below. ChatGPT, amazing system. You guys can check it out. But you're playing with ChatGPT.
Yeah, so I'm busy writing a song right now, in the writing process. So I used it, I put the first verse in there and it gave me like options for a second verse. And the cool thing is it'll change it up for you constantly, that you can either use it just like that. I found it because it's still lacking a lot of elements, it's still lacking, but it's definitely a tool for creativity. So you can...
It's a tool for creativity, interesting.
You can definitely get ideas from there if you're stuck, you know, so it's good for when you're stuck. And then obviously speeding up other things, like we were speaking about the artist bio, my artist bio on the website, because we had the podcast going and it just wasn't music. We wanted to edit the podcast, bio a little bit. So it really helped me with that. So copywriting is going to be a lot simpler, quicker, you know. I do fear for people who are professionals in these industries, you know, but I do think that they're probably out there looking at the resource and how to use it to their benefit. Like everybody should, whether you're in the mechanical, whether you're in the creative industry, engineering, health, wellness and fitness, we should be using the resources and finding out how we can use it to our benefit, you know.
Do you see it being a part of like your daily workflow? You actually one day saying that, I write a base, give it to the AI and then tweak that, or after playing with it, you'd like to just give it some more time before you decide where it fits in your workflow?
I think it's definitely going to be part of the workflow. I advocate using and growing and innovating and finding better ways, or at least trying to find better ways, you know. Because at the end of the day, we are the ones who are using the AI.
Correct.
You know, we type in the command, we type in the request, we're going to select whether the lyrics or the copyright or whatever is suitable to what we want to carry across. And but we are also just sort of data centers.
Facts.
You and I, we're data centers.
That I've got experience through experience.
Experience and our traumas and our social environments and culture and whatever. And so it's just a matter of time. So the speed or the rapid, it's like 10x every day. You know, AI is like the knowledge of data centers, like 10x every day. So I think we'll see. It's just a waiting game.
It's a waiting game, definitely.
We'll have to wait and see how AI processes all the data that it gathers as we go along about us.
Definitely, that's also something else. It's forming its own opinions about us, you know. But going back to that Ricky Rick song, right? Especially in that context, Ricky Rick is an artist who passed away, right? An artist who isn't around anymore. Where do you stand as an artist yourself? If you were to pass away, when you do, will you be okay with your voice being used in that way? Basically, AI songs being generated, even though you basically almost had nothing to do with it except just lend some frequencies of your voice.
Yeah.
Where do you stand on that? Especially with the past artists who aren't around anymore. You know, we'd love to hear another MJ hit. We would love to hear another, a great artist, Whitney Houston song. But is it right for us? Are we taking away from the beauty of the art by creating that, or can we look at it from an homage point of view, that we're paying respects to this fallen heroes of ours? Where do you stand on that as an artist, especially from the perspective of an artist who will be subject to this at some point?
Yeah. I think if it's gonna benefit someone, if it's gonna make them feel better, if it adds, if it uplifts the creative output, I would be happy, you know, for any part of me to be used. You know,
Interesting.
when I'm not around or when I can't be there. However, there are I'm like so into legislation because I'm learning about the law behind the music right now, and that's my reading resource as well, even prior to this. So I'm still trying to figure out how my family, if in that instance, or me or my entity or whatever, will be compensated for my voice being used, because that is what happens today. If your radio's gonna play in a coffee shop, if your song's gonna play in a coffee shop, or it's being used somewhere online on the internet, or it's playing on the radio, you're getting a share of profit for that song through royalties and through DSPs and whatever. So, yeah,
Yeah, I hear that. I definitely hear that. Monetizing it. There's definitely a way to monetize it.
Monitor.
And I think, but I mean, that's from a financial perspective.
Yeah.
What about from the philosophical point of view? I really hear your point of view of, you know, if it carries across the message, right? You know, if it was supposed to make me feel good, or it was supposed to make me think about a certain topic, similar to how that artist did, even if it's outside of that artist's scope of artistry, that their body of work it's justifiable in that sense, but still the person has no say in it. You know what I'm saying? It's like essentially the same concept as with criminals, right? If a criminal passes away, do we still prosecute the criminal, right? Like, and I know this is going slightly off topic, but it falls into the same concept of, do we leave somebody alone when they're dead, or do we still milk them for as much life as possible?
Personally, my viewpoint would be, I want to be left alone. Forget about me, move on to the next best thing. My time, I've maximized.
Yeah.
I'm busy maximizing time right now. So I'm happy with not being used. I'm happy with my voice just being left alone if it's not going to benefit or improve anybody. I think it's up to the end user, the person who's creating the content. So it's up to the creator, what their intention is and how they're going to be using it. Is it being used in a malice way with good intention? But yeah, I'm passed on. I have no say. I have no concern.
There's nothing you can do.
It's the next phase, you know, it doesn't really bother me. But yeah, it's not my desire to be famous, free, alive, happy, you know, maximizing. But I think I haven't even thought that far about my voice being used after I'm gone, because I think that like happened to famous people, you know. And fame is not, for me, it's not a driving point. I do want to put out something, and I think through intervention, the message will get to the right person, you know.
Facts. I hear that. Definitely, you know, divine intervention. It will always prevail over all. So, when we speak about all of this AI in music, you start thinking about the future and where everything stands. And I was reading about I think it was called the Open Letter or something like that. And it was basically about these big players in AI, Elon Musk, some other guys. I think there's many podcasts that talk about this and many other content sources that you can get to that talks about this. But they all signed this petition for us to stop development on AI until we understand it better, right? So, yeah, it sounds like a good idea on the surface, right? Stop development until we understand it better. But, I mean, imagine we had the same type of letter for the aeroplane, right? Or for the car, or for something as simple as dialysis machines. There's so many things that have been instrumental in the progress of humankind because we pursued it. But this AI situation, I mean, there's multiple research that shows that it's growing rapidly, quickly, very quickly. Does the fact that it's growing rapidly scare you, or does that excite you because it's gonna get better? That's like I from my perspective, from a purely technological point of view, it's like, well, I'm excited. I want to see. I would actually, as a fan of technology, I might like to see the singularity. For those of you who are not familiar, the singularity is essentially the point when AI becomes smarter than mankind, right? But that will mean it is smarter than us, but we created it, so it's not necessary. We still hold domain over it. But from your perspective, do you see a possibility of a dystopian future because of AI? Like where we driving in the roads and it's like beep, 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 beep on the radio all the time,
I think AI will be proposing solutions, and I think it will still be up to the humans whether we can implement it or not.
Yeah.
And the way technology is structured, it's structured to be logical, so I think there's, I don't know what the agendas behind the big dogs are, because there's always agendas being driven. One of the biggest selling points to convert people into action is fear. So if there are any agendas behind the drivers that are in front of cameras and whatever saying this thing, what if we're not giving proposed solutions to end users and people, and we're just talking about like how scared we're supposed to be, then what action can we take? So like to sort of like speak on the same point, like I'm also keen to say, let us give AI the opportunity to answer the questions that us as humanity perhaps find difficult to answer together. Tell us how is it possible for us to have so much wealth in the world, but there's still places where kids are dying of starvation. Can we sit down and ask questions like that?
And how can we optimize our resources to ensure that all of them? I hear that. So there's definitely a place in AI. I get that. I mean, giving an example, I saw this one post where they figured out how this guy, his brain, so they basically gave him his ability to walk back thanks to AI. And essentially what the AI's job was I'm merely paraphrasing, the article will show up here and in the description most likely. But they used AI to essentially track the pathways between his brain and his spinal cord. And because, there's so many pathways, a normal average human being, or even a large team of human beings, wouldn't be able to map all of them correctly. But the AI was able to. And then using Bluetooth and radio signals, they were able to connect, I think, a chip of some sort to his navel, to his spine. And it sends that information to this like robotic, I think it's a exoskeleton or type thing that essentially now moves his legs for him. So when he thinks walk, because that's what all walking is, it's just signals being sent from your brain down to your muscles. So when things work, thanks to the AI's capacity to map the correct nerves to whatever, it maps it and is now given the ability to work. So I definitely think we have no choice but to wait and see, and still continue with development, and really, as long as we maintain, a just cause, ultimately, which is the betterment of human life, right? Once we have human life as the main priority while developing AI, then I'd like to think they already are. That's already the main priority. I mean, that's always been the priority for most of the inventions. But hopefully, there's nothing to be afraid about. Also, I don't think this podcast can tell you how to feel about it, right? In the sense of, it's a lot of emotions, excitement and fear. Like you've just got to approach it the same way I can imagine horse riders, and people who knew how to breed horses approach the invention of the car, right? You've got to adapt and change. So I think the best solution for all of us here is to try it out. Actually, go out there. We'll link all of these different types of systems downstairs and go give it a shot. I think I've even seen AI is being used in my field of film and photography, and there's some excitement. I'm really keen to see, though, the kind of creativity that AI can spark in mankind. Because that's also another part we haven't spoken about. We speak about the creativity of AI, but what about its influence on us, right?
Oh yeah, the chat we were having under the tree the other day. Mm-hmm. If we were looking for a solution to our fears of AI, overpowering humanity, I think I mentioned it's for all of us to become creative. It's for all of us to find what it is that we can be creative in and make a conscious decision to become more creative and to create more, because nobody can put out what you put out in your creativity, because like we said, your data is different. You've comprehended and messages and your perspective on life and things are different. So what you put out is always going to be different to what I put out.
Right.
Similar, sometimes the same genre, same feeling, same category, but never identical, the same. And just being creative myself and not always embracing it with for the whole of my life. Just recently really getting into creativity and understanding the driving force behind creativity and becoming more creative and actually researching the topic, has made me better in my interactions with people, with my family, better in business, in a better mind space. So it's definitely something I advocate for everybody to equip themselves with, like you said, going and doing their own research, picking up where we left off, trying to understand this thing, and then also figuring out how to be creative in your life, whether it's art, music, painting, cooking, pottery,
whatever it is,
whatever gardening, whatever it may be, to find that thing for yourself.
My garden is AI powered. It knows when I like to take walks, so it sprinkles at the right time. I could definitely see that. It's interesting. It's exciting. That's the exciting part. Like to see how much better all of these industries that it impacts are going to become, right? And, ultimately they say you could use a spade to dig a grave or you could use a spade to kill a man, So as we've been saying, it's ultimately down to the people who are allowed to use it. And that then brings the question, do you think AI should be open to everyone? That way we do have some, like the masses has quote unquote control over what happens or is aware of what's happening? Or because AI is such a powerful tool, should it be limited on who's allowed to work on it? Similar to nuclear bombs. You can't purchase plutonium and try and make a nuclear bomb for yourself. So do you think that AI should be open to anyone to develop, or should we restrict who's allowed to do those things?
I don't think we need any more new stuff, to be honest.
Yeah.
I think we were moving at a rapid speed as it was. So if we're willing to slow down,
Just a little bit.
to slow down and to be patient, and to be reserved and to be grateful in the space that we are now using, what we have. But if we can improve the major problems in the world, if we can improve the major problems rapidly and put the tools in the people's hands to solve the problems for themselves in obviously an ethical way and controllable manner, then Bismillah. Go ahead.
Do the
thing that must be done.
Right. I want to create AI that basically, I don't know, writes our podcast episodes, right? We feed it all the data on how we do all of this. And that then begs the question, do you think work done by AI can still be considered art? Even though there was human element, somebody had to prompt it, had to say, yo, dude, make me a Picasso. But can we still appreciate it the same way?
I think it'll probably give... think of it this way, if there's AI and Picasso was around, you'd probably have more time, less time having to wash brushes, and, less time having to pack, whatever it may be, the stuff that you don't want to be doing. I felt like just getting involved with a little bit of time that I spent on ChatGPT last night. There's stuff that I probably would have. I was looking for someone to outsource my copywriting to, and it made it so very simple and easy. And those are the stuff that so you can free up more time
to focus on the more important
stuff and being more creative. So if you can create an efficient workflow by using AI, you might be able to free up more time for yourself to focus on the fun stuff and the creative stuff.
Definitely. And I think, that's just a recipe for success in the sense of, you look at, not to take it there, but you look at slaves, right? Slave owners do well because you have people focus on the things you don't want to do. Right? And I think that was the worst example to use. But with that same thinking, AI now frees up so much time. And it's interesting. I'd like to think of a future where I can sit down and just simply think of ideas. I don't have to worry about how they're going to be executed or anything. But yeah, I could just think of ideas. I
picture at the highest level of creation, maybe, example, Pharrell has a project. He's probably got a few executive producers making the beat or engineers. He's no longer sitting and
they're solo,
sitting and going through all the drum patterns or whatever. You know what I mean? But he'll probably come through eventually and be like, okay, remove this, maybe volume there.
And that's what direction is. Yeah. I think AI gives everyone the chance to be the director rather than being the guy who's setting up the lights. That's such an interesting point of view. Yeah, I think on that note, we
still need plumbers.
We still need
tilers, ceiling guys, roofing guys, window cleaners.
But we can build bots for that. That's also the thing about AI.
Yeah, well, it's just we'll always need those people. But how are you going to use that in your field? A friend of mine way back, it came through and this was so cool for me. When there's a plumbing problem, you don't have to dig up holes anymore. You just send the robot through the pipe and it'll find the crack for you because it has a camera
and everything, and boom.
Exciting times.
It's exciting times.